What is likely to die along with the baby boomers generation? Timeshares. I worked in corporate for one of the largest timeshare companies in the world, and I left believing that it was absolutely a scam. Employee benefits were amazing, but the salespeople will absolutely lie to you to secure a sale. We used to get a lot of inquiries on exit options. These companies will put your unit on a resale market, but it'll never get sold. This will force people to exit via third party for a faster exit. But the third-party market is littered with scams by the Mexican cartels. I've had to deal with so many timeshare owners who are out $50,000 plus because they explored the third-party resale market and never actually exited. If you own a timeshare and are exploring exit options via third parties, please do not send someone money for them to help get your timeshare sold. It's a scam, and the cartel will obtain your personal information. Fancy unused china sets. I, 40, inherited my grandmother's Wedgwood china. Plain white set. Moved that shit with me for a decade. After my divorce, I made it my daily use. They survived the dishwasher just fine. I used the teacups for snack bowls. The one single time my mother's grandmother's china was ever used was when a cop came to our house. I was 5 and decided that this was a fancy occasion and served him tea in the china tea set. He graciously drank it. It had been in that cupboard for at least a decade by that point. I did not wash it first. This one I'm keeping because the solution is so simple. Just take the plates out and use them. You have friends over? Fancy plates. Your dog graduated from obedience school? Fancy plates. You tried a new recipe? Fancy plate that shit up. Just humble bragging about your dog graduating from obedience school, huh? Well, it's not that easy for everyone, and some people own huskies. Actually, some huskies own people. What we think of as their wealth. That's not going to come to us. It's going to go to the hospitals, to the assisted living facilities, the nursing homes, and all the healthcare things that are slowly sucking us dry. If we don't have a crisis because of rampant Medicare fraud, mismanagement, venture capitalists and core buying all the hospitals, insurance companies, and nursing facilities, it will be because of staffing, low pay, and increased patient-caregiver ratios. Healthcare in the U.S. is starting to fall off a cliff, and it's the most noticeable in rural areas. I am learning this now. My mom saved whatever pennies she could over the years and put it into savings for when she passes on to give to me and my nephew. She was in a head-on collision on July 15th. Medicare and Blue Cross don't cover long-term care, so we have to put her on Medicaid. Medicaid won't pay anything until we drain her account, which will take about a month and a half. We won't be getting anything after she worked so hard her entire life. I don't have the heart to tell her that it's all gone. I'm just concentrating on her getting better and the hope that she might be able to leave the facility in a year or so. I'm so sorry that you and your family have to deal with this. It's straight up evil that healthcare puts already grieving or suffering people in this position. On a less pithy note, a pretty big chunk of American industrial knowledge. It's not even just declining educational quality. There are plenty of young guys with the intelligence and work ethic to keep things running. But every available incentive pushes them away from things like chemical and industrial engineering and into tech, where they face fewer regulatory obstacles to get started and can make much more money in a faster-paced environment. The result of this is that the last 2 or 3 boomers who know how to synthesize some obscure lubricant necessary to keep some factory in Pennsylvania running are going to retire, and one of them's going to get hired on as an outside consultant until his brain can no longer function even a fraction of the time. And then that factory's just going to close down forever because there is nobody in the pipeline capable of replacing him. Same deal for all kinds of obscure maintenance tasks. It is terrifying to those in the know. You'd be shocked at how many vital processes depend on some 67-year-old engineer never ever dying. Yup, it's annoying AF. I looked into becoming a machinist near me since I'm sick of doing tech support since my tech skills are in repair, and companies no longer care for that. 3 rounds of interviews, no other subjects. Every guy I talked to on the floor was thrilled that I was interested and wanted the help. They also got along with me more or less. Management decided no because I wouldn't fit company culture. Read, I expressed concern about the 6 days a week, 12-hour day schedule. Of the roughly 100 other people that I know and interact with, literally one other person has looked into trade. And that's because he's been in construction since he's 14 and can be thrown anywhere in the country without issues. I wanted to learn how to weld in high school, and we had a completely free program for that. It would have been 4th, 5th, and 6th hour at our county skills center. My counselor called my parents in and talked them into me. a high school senior taking 5 hours of electives, plus the one required hour of English because my grades were so good. It would be a waste of an education. Mom, who I loved to death until the day she died, agreed with the counselor. So took bullshit classes my entire senior year rather than learn a trade, and ended up dropping out of college after 2 years. And this was 20 years ago. Cable news. Of all the comments here, this is the one I'm hoping ages the best. I hope as boomers die off, the news becomes more news and less things that piss people off to drive engagement. Porcelain figurine collections. Funko Pops are the new precious moments. You're right, but this comment dealt me psychic damage. Pokemon cards are just stamps. It's looking like Harley-Davidson might not make it through. Attempts to vary their advertising towards younger demographics seem to just piss off their rusted-on supporters, so they're stuck between getting money now and trying to make it later. Personally, I'm not that upset to see a company die when all they have are outdated designs that they charge a premium for, due to an image that people can no longer relate to. After reading this, I started typing in Harley-Davi into Google and got the suggested search Harley-Davidson woke. So I tapped it and got a thumbnail for a YouTube video. Harley-Davidson went woke, so I destroyed my bike. And it's a guy pointing a military-style rifle at his Harley. The obsession with work. Although I think it's going to get more complicated now. I worked myself to death, my father worked himself to death, and his father worked himself to death, so you can work yourself to death, and your children can work themselves to death. Thanks, Dad. Sorry I didn't inherit your workaholic gene and want to be able to support myself on 40 hours. Reader's Digest magazine. Boomer here. Those were for old people back when I was a young child. Reader's Digest and Canasta were from my grandparents' generation. Respect your elders. The notion is already dying because most elders nowadays haven't done all that much for younger generations to warrant unconditional respect. Whereas before they fought in wars, worked harder than most, etc., etc. Don't take this as me saying you shouldn't respect elders or anybody, but the obligation is fading. I think it's already pretty much happened, is in the process of happening, but cable TV in any form. I finally convinced my mom, 76, to stop paying north of $200 a month for cable. I had been needling her for years when she finally did it. Was it the literal hundreds per month savings that finally convinced her? Nope, showing her, on my streaming-only TV, that she could watch Her Story, soap opera, Days of Our Lives, and Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman anytime she wanted. That was the selling point. So, friends, we've reached the end of our list of things that are likely to disappear along with the baby boomer generation. The world is changing, and we're on the verge of a new era, where habits, values, and even items that once seemed timeless are starting to fade away. But history always leaves us with lessons, both good and bad, and it's up to us not just to observe these changes, but to learn from them and create a better future for ourselves and the generations to come. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And what do you think will disappear along with this generation? Let us know in the comments. See you in the next video.